You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Lou Del Pree. What's up, Lou?
It's another Friday.
It is
another
another
good
Friday.
day.
It's always a good day. It's always a good day when you're retired.
It is.
Usually. But hey, we have somebody in the room tonight. Hello there.
Hi.
We have a wonderful guest that was a little bit stressed. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't sure if she was gonna show up or not, but she made it.
I made it. Yes,
Welcome. Just I screwed up spelling your name
that's all right.
several times. I'm so sorry for that.
It's okay. It happens all the time. I'm used to it
Oh.
by now.
I'm not real smart a lot of times, but anyway, I'm really fascinated to see your title because I need to throw somebody under the bus here real quick. Lou wants to write a book,
I do.
and we got the perfect person here to talk to about that. So real quick, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, and that way we'll segue right into giving Lou a bunch of crap.
Giving him no. I'm not doing that. I'm going to give him the real thing, the real deal. So
I'll give him crap.
I'm AG Billig, Andrea. That's how my friends call me. I'm a published author. I'm also a motivational speaker, and I'm also the founder of Self-Publishing Mastery. It's an award-winning educational center that helps authors to write and self-publish their books. So, writing has been and books have been a big part of my life since I was a very young child, and it's part of my life mission. And I think that books still have the power, although everybody's on TikTok and everybody loves its short bite content, but I think that books still have this incredible power of changing the world for the better, of opening people's hearts and minds, and we need this so much right now. So
I agree. I love to read. I don't read as much as I used to, but I've actually self-published my own book.
congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known you prior to, because it was a pain.
Well, will it be another one at some point?
There's a possibility.
I thinking just it comes to my mind right now. I mean, you have this amazing podcast, and you have all these incredible gifts and guests, except myself. So, but
Nonsense.
you
Nonsense.
know,
No.
it makes sense. So I think and you have these amazing conversations. Think about Nothing's Off the Table book. You can always create a book and put it out there. Just a thought.
We might get in trouble if we did that.
But I find it fascinating though. I'm an avid reader. Now I do a lot of audiobooks. I got into, and one of the books I was listening to was talking about how we record history, and how in the West, it's names, dates, facts, and then if it doesn't have all of that, then we're not really sure that it happened. But in many other cultures, it's storytelling how we communicate the history, and so there aren't exactly dates, but it's these rich tellings of history and descriptions and colors, and that's how the history was passed down. And I think what I'm happy to see, and I'm reading in books, is that people are starting to realize that and starting to see the value in these stories of their historical significance, even though they're minus the date, name, place that we're used to in Western society.
If I can interject here, I remember when I
Yeah.
was so my accent, just to clear this thing out from the very beginning. I'm originally from Romania, so I was raised there. I spent there most of my life. I'm glad it's just a little accent, because when I came here in 2019, it was like a big accent. So now it's getting better. But I remember, studying in elementary school history, and I had to memorize all these dates, years, days of battles and victories, and I was, oh my god, I can't do that. Yeah. So, and it made it really boring. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love to read fiction. I'm one of those kind of guys. And the book that I wrote is a it's a fiction. It's in the military espionage genre.
Mm.
So, and you know, I'll be honest. I wrote it primarily for me. I really didn't publish it, or I didn't publicize it. I didn't market it. You know, it's on Amazon, but if you want to go out and get it, you can get it. If you don't, you don't. But it was kind of it was very therapeutic because I was going through a lot of
Mhm.
things in my life at the time, and ironically, the whole book started from a nightmare that I had, and it was pretty realistic. So it woke me up. Couldn't go back to sleep, heart racing, sweating the whole 9 yards. And I said, you know what? This would make a really good story. So I wrote the idea down, and then it took me, I don't know, geez, a year or so to finally put all my thoughts down and get it complete.
Mhm.
But what a rewarding experience it was,
Yeah.
with the exception of trying to find an agent and
Hmm.
someone to publish it. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I just said, screw it, I'm going to do it myself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that this is one of the, I think, best parts of being alive today, if you're a creative, like an author or a musician, is that you no longer have to go through those middlemen, like a publisher, traditional publisher, or a record company to make art and to sell it, because you can do this on your own. And then, if you I think the main ingredient is to write from the heart. And I'm working with this amazing gentleman. He has this incredible life story. His name is Dale Aronson. And back in the late 60s, he used to be part of the outlaw motorcycle club Hangman. And after 7 years, he realized this is not actually the life I want to live. So he left the club, and then he went to Alaska, and then that's where he learned how to pilot airplanes. And then he made his way into American Airlines, and he became an airplane captain, although he had no formal education, so he barely finished high school. But he has all this experience in the airlines. That was, he told me, the Reagan presidency. So the airlines were desperate to get
Yes.
pilots. So um,
Yes.
so he did that, and then he became a world record breaker, breaking rifle shooter. So he has this amazing life story, and then he reinvented himself as an author. So he has this innate gift for storytelling, and he put his books out there. The first book tells about the Hangman Motorcycle Club, and then the next two books are about his life experience, his life adventures as an airplane pilot. And but he put so much passion into his writing, and he's such a great storyteller that the readers love him. They simply love him, and he has like tons, like hundreds and hundreds of reviews, and most of them are, over 5 stars. So um, the readers can feel that they immediately they can see that you're gifted, and then they immediately they can see that you put passion into your book. You love what you do. And if you have this too, then even with little marketing, I think your book or your song can take off. Because before I met him, he was like basically doing Amazon ads, and he was wasting a ton of money on those ads. Um, However, the readers were so fascinated with the books that they felt compelled to write a review, which is a big thing.
You know, I have several 5-star reviews on mine, but I had to pay everybody to
No,
write
I don't
those.
believe you. Come on, that's not true. That's not true.
So, what led you to starting your own company?
Well, I have an inspiring story. First of all, I have to say that I've been, like this sort of entrepreneur since I was in high school. Again, back in Romania, the high school started the high school magazine, and after the first issue, they decided, okay, we don't want to do it. But I thought, oh, this would be fun. So I put together an editorial team, and then I find a bigger newspaper to help us with the printing, and then I find someone to sponsor us to do the layout. And basically, I was doing the magazine and I was making money. Making money was not the end goal for the magazine. I was really excited to do it, but so I have this. I'm this type of person. But then in 2015, after I got traditionally published, I went back to the London Book Fair. And for those of you who don't know, London Book Fair is one of the biggest and most important trade shows worldwide in publishing industry. Nowadays they pay more attention to self-publishing, but I remember that I was there as a journalist. I got a chance to sit and talk with Brian May from Queen, and that was an amazing experience. He's such a
Wow.
humble person. um, but I was there, and there was this panel um, where there were three different authors, all of them self-published, and one of them is Mark Dawson. He's from the UK, and he shared his story of how he initially was traditionally published, and then, of course, the publisher didn't market his books, therefore the books didn't sell, and then the publisher dropped him, and then he said, "Okay, I'm just going to quit writing." But then his passion for writing was so, I mean, it wouldn't let him give up, and he decided to self-publish. So that was 2015, so almost 10 years ago, right? And so he was commuting every day from where he was living to London, and imagine the subway car filled with people and noisy, and he would just sit there for 1 hour and a half and block the noise and type on his computer. That's how dedicated he was. So he was able to crank one book after another, and started publishing them, self-publishing them on Amazon. And so in 2015, he said, last year, I made $500,000 just by selling ebooks.
Wow. So let me ask you, my book is already published. Is there any way to go back and promote that or
Yeah, I just want to let me wrap up this thing. And then the
absolutely?
second lady, she's American, her name is CJ Lyons. She writes medical thrillers because she's a medical doctor, and she said, "I'm so excited, now I get to have my own media empire. I have this YouTube channel, and I have this sort of Instagram, and I have my website." And she was striving as well as an author. And then I realized, what I know every many authors are upset with Amazon because they are making great examples, but still, Amazon gave us this amazing outlet to put our
Yeah.
books out there. And I realized this is the trend. Even if publishers wanted to publish more books, they don't have the bandwidth, really. So I realized this is something that's here to stay, and that's how I got the idea to create self-publishing mastery, because I said, okay, I just want to use my PR and marketing expertise to help authors and to help also myself, because ever since I have self-published my books, and just be part of this movement. But to go back to your question, so this is the wonderful part of being a self-published author. You have full control. So you are in control, and the book is an evergreen product. It never grows old, especially a book that's well written. So I know many cases and situations where authors, when they first self-published a book, they did the best they could, but they didn't have the right cover or the right editing. And Dale Aronson, his first cover was he made it himself. It wasn't right. So yeah, you can always go back. You can always redo the cover. You can always redo the sales blurb, and you can relaunch the book for sure. So yeah.
My goal is not so much money, but I just
Mhm.
want to get it out there and I just want to share the story and people have people read it.
But you see, so I hear this a lot, and I used to have this like, oh, money, but this is the thing. So when you start making that money, that means that um, the readers are love your book and they are buying it. So the more readers buy your book, the more money you're going to make, and there's nothing wrong with that, because you know how much time and effort goes into writing a book. And then self-publishing is not free. I mean, yeah, it is free if you want to do it in a very amateurish way, but typically you have to pay for a book cover, you have to pay for an editor, so there are costs. It's not completely free if you want to do it right.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
wouldn't turn down the money. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, okay, yeah,
you're absolutely right. The editing cost, the I had a cover design that
exactly,
wasn't
yeah,
free, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's worth it in the end. I thought.
And even the marketing, I mean, there's a lot to do, and that's why publishers have these big teams of people, or maybe not that big, but however, they have someone who does the marketing. So when you self-publish and when you get started, unless you have the a little bit of money to invest in it, then you have to wear all the hats, and there are many hats to wear at the same time. So
It wasn't easy,
yeah,
but like I said, well worth it to go
yeah,
through. I would do it again. I just have to get a few irons out of the fire before I get back to writing.
yeah. Whenever the time is right.
Speaking of time being right, Lou, what tell us about? Can you give us any hints on what you're trying to write or no?
No, I can't. But I do want to talk to you about. There's a book series I've been following since the 1970s that's been publishing. That just recently stopped around 2008. And what I thought was fascinating is how you see the difference in the villains being written, with the same group and same authors. As politics change, so did the villains, and so did the writing styles switch and change. Um, so I do think it's interesting. But I have a question for you. What advice do you give authors, or people who are thinking about writing? What would you tell them? What would you say to them?
Oh, so I think the first, what I said earlier, love what you write, really. Write something that you love, because I see some people, they look at, the genres that are popular, and thriller and mystery is a very popular genre, and then romance. But I think people who are successful in romance, and I'm a woman, so I look at that genre. They really love writing that. So write something that you really love, and that's write something that you are passionate about, and also believe in yourself, and then decide what is your vision for your book. What do you want to accomplish? And also, is this just one book? Uh, do you feel it in your heart that this is your life calling and that you cannot live anymore without pursuing it? So, because having this clarity of vision about your writing, um, it will help you make the right decisions when it comes to publishing. I mean, if it's like a cathartic process, and oftentimes it is, and you write a book just to heal yourself or go through a tough time of your life, and you feel that this is just one life book, and you feel that it can change people's life, and you still put it out there, then you will take a certain route. But if you decide that I want to be the next Mark Dawson, okay, then you have to take a completely different route. So passion for what you write, regardless whether it's one book or book series. Believe in yourself, and believe that there are readers out there who are looking for a book just like yours, and also have clarity about where do you want to go about this. And once you have these three things in place, then you can decide. And then Are you ready to learn a new skill set like marketing? Do you have, maybe you have a well-paying job, so you have money to invest in book marketing? Um, how are you going to navigate this process? Or you don't want to deal with any of this self-publishing stuff, and your goal is to find a publisher, and you are so confident in your talent, you believe that you are the next Hemingway, that you know that you're going to land a literary agent who is going to help you get a publisher. And if that's the route, that's perfectly fine. But build resilience and don't give up. Either way, self-publishing or publishing, don't give up after your first no, or after you put your first book out there, and it's not like everybody's buying it, because if you don't market it, nobody, probably only your friends will buy it. So just build this resilience and don't give up if you feel it in your gut that this is what you need to do, because eventually it will pay off. um yeah, I think there was something else. No, I think this is it for now. Does it answer the question? And by the way, I just want to make to make to explain that right now there are three avenues that people usually take. So one avenue is traditional publishing. With traditional publishing, you find a literary agent, and that agent represents you and finds you a publisher. The literary agent only gets paid when they land you a deal, and they typically charge 15%. Okay, you will not be charged by the literary agent. You will not be charged by the publisher. Okay, then you have, at the other end of the spectrum, you have self-publishing, and this is where you basically wear the head of a publisher, and either you do things yourself or you pay someone to do things for you. In this situation, you maintain the copyright of your work. When you have a traditional publisher, you have a contract and you give that copyright away for life, or in my case, it's like 10 years. So when you self-publish, you have the copyright, and you can go and you have access to your Amazon dashboard, to all the dashboards, depending where you decide to, what book distributors are you going to work with. So you have access to all that. You manage that. You change the price. You do whatever you want. And then there is something in between, which is called a hybrid publisher, which is basically a vanity publisher, that is not a publisher, because you have the rights, and those people are going to charge you for every single service, and for some bookmarks, and for some books that you can easily order on Amazon and pay an author price of $3 or $4, not 20. And basically, then if you want to go in and make changes to your book, it will be a whole hassle. So my advice is, either go with a traditional publisher and wait until you get the right one, or if you want to have be in control, go with self-publishing. And if you need help, just hire a professional who can help you set up everything, and who can help you with the book marketing. But you are still in control, and you have access to everything. So I see a lot of people working with hybrid publishers, and then being really disappointed and paying a ton of money for that.
I actually looked into that in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I just, every red flag went up, and it was
Hmm.
just in the back of my head was screaming scam, scam, scam.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is, but that was my initial impression, so I chose to not go that route.
Good. I'm glad you didn't. And you don't. And that's the other thing. I mean, publisher. You have, like, on the spine of the book, there is allegedly like the logo of a publisher. The reader doesn't care if a logo is there, and you can always create your own imprint. You can create your small press, and you act like a publisher. But the readers don't care. All they want is a good story, a nice cover, because that will catch their eyes, especially in the beginning when they don't know you, and a good book description. That's where everything starts.
Definitely. I've read thousands and thousands of books, and I've never ever paid attention to the
Yeah.
little logo
Hmm.
on the spine. Who cares?
Yeah.
But I am definitely interested. I think we might need to do a revision and maybe
Yeah,
relaunch the book.
yeah,
But
for sure. And you have this. I think this podcast. I know you're not necessarily talking about fiction, but this. I think this is a great platform. To let people know about the book and what the book is. And yeah, definitely.
Lou, did your question get answered? You're unusually quiet today.
Oh yeah, yeah. Every time I unmute, you mute. So, hey, it did get answered. I do have a question for you though. An editor. How important is it to get an editor?
Oh,
Would you
well,
say?
I think I keep thinking about the when I think about I mentioned Hemingway earlier, but Fitzgerald and all these great authors. I'm sure they had the publisher had someone look at their work, and it is important to it is important to have an editor, especially if you're just starting out as an author. Um, and for novels, it is important to have a developmental editor who can look at the structure of the book and make sure that structure is is actually has legs. Because if the structure doesn't, isn't right, then the book is going to fall apart. So I would say, especially if you're starting out, it is a good idea to work with an editor, because an editor also will share with you. Basically, you will learn from the editor will have with you conversations and will show you and will explain to you, this is why I'm suggesting this change. And by the way, when you work with an editor, you you get to decide whether you want to accept that suggestion or not. But the editor will give you their reason why that change should be, or just should be incorporated into the manuscript. So, although I truly do believe that talent plus reading great literature makes make a great writer, I do believe, though, that when you're just starting, just for the first book, just work with an editor, especially in that developmental part of the book. And then you have line editor who will look and polish everything and make sure that everything sounds good, reads well. And then final stage is the proofreader, someone who makes sure that every little comma, em dash, all that stuff is in the right place. So I guess yes. And for me, I'm not a native speaker. Romanian is my native language. So if there are people who are not native speakers, I think that's when definitely you need an editor. And if you think, I remember I was in Romania and studying the great classics of American literature, and Joseph Conrad was one of them, and he's not a native speaker either. He's Polish. So, but yeah, it's uh, it's
I,
worth it.
it was worth every penny when I did
Hmm.
my book.
Yeah.
I learned a tremendous amount from having it
Hmm.
done, and I think it's probably, in my opinion, almost more important than the story itself. Because I'm not a grammar Nazi, but if I get a couple paragraphs into a book and it's just horribly written, I don't even want to continue.
Yeah. True. Yeah. It's a big turnoff for the majority of readers, really. So yeah.
I've I've read some horribly written
Hmm.
misspellings, poor sentence structure, run on, you name it. It was obvious that the person did everything themselves and didn't have anybody proofread it. But
Yeah.
it's one of the risks you run into when you buy a self-published book, I think. But you know what? What's a couple bucks?
Right. But I think you can tell. I think if the typically, I think if the author decides to invest in a good looking cover, that should say that a professionally looking cover, that's an indicator that that person knows what they are doing, and they're mostly likely invest in their manuscript as well. But if the cover is really poor, I think that's the first sign, like, okay, just I better
Well,
stay away.
I was gonna share my cover. Now I'm not sure I want to.
Yes, come on, you said no, please.
It's a poor copy. I went and found the first one I could find. It's a little bit pixelated, but yeah, I
No,
had somebody do this for me.
yeah, it's not.
It's
It's catchy.
again, I my cheap behind went to Fiverr.com and I
Yeah,
had
that's what.
somebody,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But there's
yeah,
a lot of talent there. You know, it's
yeah.
you can hit or miss for sure. But
Hmm.
I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit here, real quick. And what brought you to the states?
Um, growing up in Romania, so I spent the first years of my life. It was still the communism, and however, I had my parents had all these books in our house, and we had those novels about those romanticized novels about Native Americans. So I devoured those books. I loved them. And then I grew up with the music, and then I would occasionally watch movies. I watched Superman. It came to Romania later in the 80s. And for some reason, as a child, I was like, why am I here? Why am I here? I should be in the United States. So I think my heart just called me here, and then I started coming here as a tourist. I started visiting, and then just one thing led to another. It was basically me deciding to really pursue writing, which um, led to the publication of my first book is in 2012, a short story collection by a British publisher. Actually, I went to the London Book Fair, and that's how I found my publisher with no literary agent. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, that was nobody in my country did it. So that was, I think that was a major breakthrough. But that showed me that, hey, maybe you can use your all the years you spend in elementary school, in high school, and then in college, learning English, studying the language, reading the books to become an author, so, and write in English. So that gave me this inspiration that maybe I could leave my country and live somewhere else. And I lived in Dublin, Ireland for a few months, and then I I went to California for the first time in 2015, and then one thing just led to another, and um, yeah, it was just the books and the writing and helping authors that brought me here eventually. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to be here because it's a wish come true, and because I see the greatness of this nation. I see the kindness of the people. I don't have any family here. I didn't know anyone here. California, Orange County, that was my first home. And people just welcomed me with open arms, although I was a stranger. So I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity, and for you guys. You're really special. So thank you.
In more ways than you know. So I'm about to get in a little bit of trouble here, but I'm going to say it anyway. You left a communist country and you came to another one. Oh,
Yeah, well,
I hate
I'm
you.
familiar with this conversation. Yeah, but I think the whole planet is pretty much under the same regime right now.
For
Uh,
sure.
yeah.
I love to just poke fun at everything. I don't care. I find an opportunity and I'll throw a zing in there. Half people will laugh and half will get mad.
No, I'm not, because I see it. I see it everywhere, not just here. And what's happening here right now? It's happening in Romania. It's happening all over Europe. And I don't know. I think we should be in somewhere in the Amazon, in the forest, or at the top of the mountain, not to be in a different environment. It's like a planetary takeover.
Go ahead, Lou.
So what how'd you like California?
So what? Say it again, please.
How did you like
Oh, I
California?
love it. I mean, it's still right now. I'm in Sedona, Arizona. Back in 2022, I needed a change, and Sedona is a very special place. Some of you may know, and the nature is fabulous. So I decided to move here because that's the another thing, I can do what I do from wherever in the world. But again, amazing, kind people in California, soul family for me there, and how could I not love it? I mean, the beaches, the weather, the ocean, all that. Um, and I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking about the people, like the ordinary people, my friends, and the beauty of nature that's there.
Oh, for sure.
That's what stood out for me. And I'm actually going back. I'm going to give a motivational talk next Thursday on the 23rd. I'm going to be at an event. It's called Tech Talks, and I'm going to give a talk that's titled "Love is Your Superpower," because this is actually my message. So
Very cool.
yeah.
I don't have a superpower.
Oh, you do. You do. Love is your superpower as well, and yours too, Lou, because this is our nature. This is everyone has this superpower. We just forget about it, and things would be so different if we just remembered.
Go ahead, Lou. I know you got something to say.
No, I'm good. Well, I mean, if I were to follow up, I want to dial back to the
Yeah, yeah,
editors.
yeah.
I want to go
Do it.
back to
Let's do it.
editors. Are you saying so? You were talking like there's multiple
Yeah,
editors, like there's editors
yeah,
for the flow of the
yeah.
content. Can you talk a little bit about like the different types
Yeah.
of
So
editors?
so so when you so let's say, so you get your book to where your manuscript to where from your standpoint it's your final draft. So from that moment on, although you'd still like to make changes, because we always do, you decide, I just want to publish this book while I'm still alive, so I'm going to stop here. So now I need an editor, and now I'm talking about fiction novels, right? So the first person you need to talk to is this developmental editor. This is the person who is not going to touch your punctuation. It's not going to touch the flow of your sentences and phrases. This person is going to look at the structure of the book and make sure that the structure has legs and is consistent, and the story takes the reader from point A to point B in a straightforward way. So there are no gaps, there are no parts that are boring, and make sure that the storyline is again is consistent, and it keeps the reader engaged, and also the characters, because you need to write characters that speak to the readers. So the developmental editor may say, okay, this, you need to flesh out this character, and you need to make it so and so, and it's going to give you the manuscript with notes and say, hey, or you might want to add a little bit more here in this chapter. You need to take this out because this is boring, this is too much. So it's like how should I say, like you have a house, or it's like you're planning to build a house, and then you would make the blueprint, and then you have an architect looking at your blueprint and say, no, you have to move this wall here, and you move to, because otherwise the house would crumble. So once you have that, so the developmental editor will hand it back to you with their suggestions, and then you go in and you rewrite, or you reorder, or you flesh out, or you remove whatever they tell you to do. And then you can have conversations, so they can look at it again. And some developmental editors, they also do line editing, so that would be the next stage. Once you have that structure in place and everything flows, and the reader enjoys this journey from A to B, then you give it to the to the line editor or copy editor, who is going to look at the sentences and phrases and make sure that they are polished, so that they sound like great literary fiction, great fiction, or and then once that is done, the last stage is the proofreader. And a proofreader is someone you can get on Fiverr, for example, because all they need to do is just look at punctuation and like spelling, and make sure the right words are capitalized, and you don't use quotes with italics and stuff like that. So things that even a native speaker with a very good command of grammar can miss, because you are so familiar with the manuscript that obviously I when I did my short story collection in Romanian as well, and I'm pretty good. I'm pretty proficient in Romanian. However, there are things I missed because I my eyes wouldn't notice them anymore. And so yeah, there are three types of editor, and typically the developmental one, that's the most expensive. I mean, I know they can charge up to $75 an hour. That was like a few years ago. So that would be maybe a couple of $1,000 to work with that person.
It's definitely not cheap.
No, it's not. It's not. That's what I'm saying. If you need to be really, really clear about what you want to do, about your writing, about your book, about your career, writing career. And I know I have this. When I was in LA, I was a member of the Greater Los Angeles Writers Society, and there was this other young writer. Her name is Brandy June, and she was so dedicated to her books, and she writes YA, that she had a good marketing job. However, she was the sole breadwinner, earner in the family, so she took a second job so she could afford to pay the best editor. Elaine Ash is her name, and I know one of the best editors in that in LA, because she wanted to work with her. And Elaine did an amazing job of her book. I don't typically read YA, but the first book, it's a duology. So the first book I devoured it because it was so well written. And she managed to get a publisher. So that book was traditionally published. Did she recoup her investment? I don't know, really, because that's the other thing. With a traditional publisher, typically my publisher gave me 15%. 15. Amazon will give you, and Andy, right? Because Amazon gives you 70% for your ebook if you're priced between $2.99 and $9.99, and up to, I think, 50 or 60 for the paperback. So definitely you can make more money as a self-published author if you know how to market your book. That's the caveat for that. Just
And
market your book, and you'll make your money back. But
clearly, I don't know how to.
yeah, it's a strategy, and building a connection with the readers takes a little bit of time, but it can be done. I mean, other people do it, so it can be done for sure.
Well, I think I would definitely get with you offline and
Yeah,
look into maybe redoing this a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Again, it's not about the money. The money's nice, but
No,
it,
come on. Let's not. It's why not? You deserve it.
well,
Every single author who spends hours and hours and hours and hours writing a book deserves this. It's an exchange, and yeah,
it is an
I want you
exchange.
to be a millionaire, Andy, because that means that millions of people will read your book.
That would be wonderful. I just want my story. I just want
Yeah,
people to read it.
yeah, yeah. And if people read it, then you'll see that in your bank. It'll be reflected in your bank statement.
Be
And maybe there is there it could it be a second book in the series? Could
oh,
you?
for sure. I left
Okay.
it open on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Because that's the one of the big secrets of people who get to make an impact with their books and connect with the readers. They write book series, many books in a series. So the more books you write, the more engaged the readers are, because they are going to, "Oh, okay, when is the next book coming out?" And they know that you're going to give them more, so they're going to, you know, stick with you.
Maybe I'll pull my head out of my rear end and get back to it.
Yeah, because if you, I mean, and if you decide to, I would, my recommendation is if you decide to relaunch this book, relaunch with keeping in mind the next, what would be the second and the third book in the series, and then it can be the whole relaunch, and book marketing can be strategized keeping in mind that this is a book series and promote it as such. There are many things that can be done. So
I may or may not have an idea or two
I'm sure you do.
potentially. Lou, did you have any more questions, sir?
No, I'm good.
Wow. So I need to write this down on the calendar. I,
Oh,
I normally I can't Lou, I can't get him to be quiet, but I'll take this tonight. Actually, truth be told, we're having a little bit of difficulty with the audio, but we're working through it. There's a comment in the room. Mark Barris, what up, Barris? Says he actually served with Romanians in Kandahar, so
hi, Mark.
goes full circle.
Yep.
But hey, you know what? Look at what time it is. It's
Yeah.
that time of the show. It is time for our Veterans Helping Veterans segment. And this week, I want to highlight an organization called TAV Now. And what that stands for is Thank a Vet. Thank a Vet Now. It's run by a retired Army Sergeant Major who lost his. I'm blocking you out here. I'm sorry for just for a minute. Had his eyesight, lost his eyesight in Iraq in 2006, and came back home and started this organization. They do a lot of great things. A lot of great things for veterans. They help get employment. They help with bills in certain situations, all kinds of things. So do yourself and everyone else a favor. Take a quick picture of that little QR code there and help them out if you can. And that's our Veterans Helping Veterans segment. Well, I tell you what, I hear the kids stomping. I'm surprised you guys can't hear it. It's like there's elephants running up and down the room. So I
Oh,
think we will cut this a little bit early so I can go abuse. I mean, this. I mean, talk to my kids.
AG, that was fascinating. I mean, the whole book process, editors, things like that, stuff that people don't think of. And the fact that, I like that you're a resource out there to other people, who might be thinking about publishing stories. There's
Yeah.
ways to go about there. Do some creative Googling before you dive in without any floats or water wings or anything. There's people out there dying to help.
Yeah, and there is so much information. That's the other thing. It's just going down the rabbit hole. There is so much information that at some point it can be overwhelming. So that's why I think it's worth, at least booking a coaching session with someone and helping you to help you navigate the process and at least point you in the right direction. But
How can people find you?
well, they can find me on my website selfpublishingmastery.com, and there is a contact form there. And if they fill out those fields, and then they can reach me. And there is also an Instagram account, Self Publishing Mastery, and I have my author account, which is Billig author on Instagram. So that's another place where you can find me and message
Awesome.
me. So
Well, I just put
Thank
your website in the chat room there. So if folks want to get a hold of you, they can click on that link and reach out.
thank you.
But
And thank you for having me today.
oh, the pleasure was
thank
all
you.
ours. Fascinating, man. There's so many questions I wanted to ask, and I couldn't even think of all of them. But do us a favor, stick around. We're gonna take off here, but I'd love to talk to you post show. But
Sure.
Lou, you wanna take us out?
Yeah. So everybody, thanks again for listening. This week we'll see you all next week. And as always, comment and click like down below. The more you like the show, the more we get to push our content out to you. So thanks again, and look forward to listening to you next week.
Thank you.